Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the operational report for the Ukrainian offensive. And for those who are new to this series of videos, basically I'm covering the operations of from the Ukrainian perspective on the Ukrainian side. So we are looking at the Ukrainian operations within Ukraine. And as the Russians are not really doing much of an offensive, it's largely the Ukrainians are currently on the offensive right now. And we're going to cover from locations to locations. Within the front line, there is actually there is this the southern front, the Zaporizhzhia front, Donetsk front, Avdiivka front, Bakhmut front, and the Kremmina front, Kupiansk front. So there's multiple fronts that we'll go through. And let's start off with the southern front. At the southern front, there is nothing exactly much happening because of the flooding due to the explosion of the dam. The Ukrainians somehow seems to be doing something over here. Other than the mutual shelling, the artillery battles along the river, there is yet another Sukhoi 25 getting shot down over Babine. This is actually the second MiG-25 that got shot down at this location. And it must be something to do. There must be something that the Ukrainians are trying to strike in this area that cause them to take this kind of risk far away from the front lines where the active fighting is actually happening. So I kind of suspect that the Ukrainians are actually trying to cross over. We do hear of intel previously that the Ukrainians have some landing force training over at Osokorivka. And in fact, they actually even practice landing over at this area here. So they land and then they run away in some kind of practice, rumored, from pro-Russian sources. So there might be a case where the aim is actually to capture this choke point over here as they land in this side, and then they capture this entire peninsula. And if they can capture this peninsula, then they will be able to continuously land troops from Zolota Balka. This is also a location that got shelled. These two locations have the history of getting shelled by the Russian forces. So there might be a possibility that there are some kind of amphibious or marines training or base over in this area that they might want to cross. And this is a small gap which the Ukrainians can actually hold the defense along the forest line. And this will provide some kind of safe zone for the Ukrainians to land troops, to build up a big force that they can actually attack into the rest of the Kherson region over at this part and into the Zaporizhzhia region, and in fact perhaps even go for Anohoda and the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. I think this is a good plan for the Ukrainians. So I think this could work for the Ukrainians if they actually land over here and take the choke points. The Russians will find it very hard to defeat a choke point, and then gathering a big force that they can actually push through. And as you can see, based on the defense lines, you can see that the Russians probably don't have a lot of troops over at this region here. So to redeploy troops over here will take some time for the Russians. So it would be a good bridgehead for the Ukrainians to start their southern offensive. And the main push currently, one of them is actually over at the Orikhiv sector of the Zaporizhzhia front. The Ukrainians are actually attacking in multiple directions. They're attacking Nesteryanka towards Robotine, in between Robotine and Verbove, towards Novoparovska. And these are the main push over here. Previously, there is a push for Kayamsky and Lokove region. This has already been wiped out. The Ukrainian forces have already withdrawn from this area here as they cannot hold a position. The Russians have actually recaptured Lokove. However, this is probably just some kind of diversionary, I guess, because the main push is actually here. If you look at the defense lines, the Russians have moving this direction down can be extremely painful. But of course, you go for any direction, it's also all painful. Everywhere is just pain. It's just pain everywhere. Oh my god, so much pain. Yeah. And so the in the latest information that we get, the Ukrainians actually try to change their tactics. Based on information from pro-Russian sources, previously they go in large columns, trying to attack the grounds. They are still doing that, especially for Novopodolsk. But over at the north of Robotine, what they tried something different. They tried to blitz through, like during the Kherson offensive, where they have fast-moving vehicles and fast-moving armor, which is now doable because they have no AMX stands, and they try to go rush south. According to one report, from the pro-Russian sources, they say that there is 10 armored vehicles in a blitz attack, and then however they run into minefield, and then all of them all the vehicles got destroyed, and then they actually called for evacuation. I'm not sure by what, and then they got shelled by the Russian artillery. Not sure if they actually managed to get away. Probably there will be some, but they have to walk all the way. I don't think any Ukrainian forces will come and fetch them, given the risk of minefields and ATGMs, because the Russians are actually having special forces roaming around with anti-tank guided weapons and to fire and ambush any Ukrainian forces that is trying to penetrate into the lines in any directions, and not just infantry that's on the ground, but actually helicopters as well. The helicopters can actually hover from a long distance away and fire guided missiles at the Ukrainian armor, and this actually is creating some kind of a conundrum for the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians, due to this raid, managed to be on multiple maps, shown to have some kind of a breakthrough, and to be honest, this is not the first line of defense. This is just a trench in the forward area. The main line of defense is actually here, around Robotine and the Kopani, stretch of lines, and the Ukrainians still have not reached the first line of defense. They managed to probably blitz through this area here. I'm not sure if it actually caused a withdrawal of any sort. I'm not too sure if that happens. It doesn't look. There is some rumors saying that happened, but not too sure. So, based on the information that I can read, not too sure. There's no clear indications that they actually managed to break through. Pro-Ukrainian sources are saying they break through the first line of defense, which is a misinformation. The first line of defense is not even here. This is just forward operating lines. If you can see, this is Novodanilivka. This is usually this Ukrainian controlled gray zone. The Ukrainians do not actively put a lot of troops in this area because it's too near to the front lines, and the Russian lines is actually over here. This is the Russian lines, and this area here is the scene of a lot of fighting previously. So the Ukrainians managed to only push to this point, and to capture this and call this the first line of defense, yeah, depend on how you want to define it, not very convincing to me. The other interesting push is actually between the Robotine and Verbove, where the Ukrainians are trying to push in this direction. According to the information, the push is on Leopard tanks and Bradleys. They managed to push some of the Russian positions, as according to the information here, from the first positions, which is probably the forward lines, and then they got shelled by Russian artillery. The Ukrainians actually also do shellings in this area here, but after one tank and 3 Bradleys got destroyed, the Ukrainians actually withdrew. They actually abandoned the attack. And I, how to put it, if you have saw the footage, the very famous footage now that went viral of the Leopard tank that was destroyed or detracked, and then it was surrounded by 6 to 7 other Bradley vehicles that was also destroyed. There's a video footage, even one of the Bradley drive into that the wreckage site, and then also got hit, and one of the ammo got explosion of some sort. This is then the pro-Ukrainians on Twitter was arguing with me about saying that this the No, the Ukrainians are humane. You know, they stop to try to save their own people, and I can tell you that that is not how you should do an offensive, because the moment you stop, you got shelled. And in fact, in some of video footages, every time the first vehicle got hit, the convoy stops, and then after they stop, immediately comes Russian artillery on them. So the idea is always to push through. I have mentioned this even maybe half a year ago or more, that the Ukrainian offensive, no, when they push, they have to push through. If there's comrades getting hit, no, you have to ignore them and push. So once you have just one tank and 3 Bradley's vehicle destroyed, and then you give up, you're going to go through the same line of defenses again. If you're not pushing through and capturing something, and to establish some kind of base, forward positions where more troops can come in to come and reinforce it, and then send someone to rescue the person that got stranded, then everybody is just going to sit there, and you are the most forward unit, and then you're going to get shelled by artillery. Because what else the Russians are going to do? You're there, of course they're going to shell you over there. And what's much worse will be airstrikes. If you are sitting there and just nice, there's a Russian helicopter or Russian attack aircraft nearby in the area, everyone is going to die. Everyone is going to die in that specific spot. So yeah, but what do I know, man? What do I know? So the fighting over at Novoporovska is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. Similarly, the attack here seems to be very, very huge, because the Russians say that it's up to a battalion strong, reinforced with tanks, and I think it's supported by enemy by aviation. Oh no, it's not supported by aviation. It's by they were struck by Russian Air Force. So the fighting at Novoporovska, less advertised tentatively. We don't have a lot more, and so that's all. What is this? Oh, okay, that's QS1 just shouting. Burn down 3 enemy. Oh, okay. So what happened here is the Russians actually shelled this area here using QS1A. There's nothing very important. It's just an interesting position because it's along this forest line west of Dorozhyanka. The Ukrainians actually have this position over here, a salient of salt within the forest line. Yeah, nothing much. So the Ukrainians mainly still concentrating mainly around the Orikhiv region, trying to push through this crazy amount of entrenchment. And to be honest, the Ukrainians have not even reached the first line of defense, the first proper line of defense, and then they have multiple lines of it behind. Yeah, without sufficient air force support, I'm not sure how the Ukrainians are going to break through. So over at Velika Novosilka region, where the first line of defense is way far away, it's like still 20 kilometers away from the Velika Novosilka line, and the Ukrainians also did not manage to break through. The Ukrainians have already abandoned the entire Novodonetsk push. This push has been abandoned, and I did this. The Ukrainians in the last operational report, I say that it's a total failure, and I think the Ukrainians got triggered. And then they're going to try again, attack again towards Nekoshny, Storozheve, towards Rivnopil and Levatne. Interesting thing is that they did not attack Novodarivka. This has been a nightmare of a place for the Ukrainians, as they managed to drive there very easily, and then they got shot to oblivion. And I'm not sure what they expect. So I feel that the offensive, if you are able to secure Novodarivka, you have to push further. They managed to drive here, and then they realized that the Russians are actually not here. The Russians have already withdrawn away from here, and then immediately they got shelled by Russian artillery. So the idea is that you can drop some troops, some infantry, and then you bypass and continue to push. That's blitzkrieg. That is proper blitzkrieg. You do not stop. The moment you stop, artillery is gonna come. So yeah. So anyway, that's what do I know? What do I know? I know nothing. I'm just an armchair general, but armchair commander. So anyway, Yeah, so this is the Velika Novosibirsk sector. There's not much of a breakthrough to report on as well. There's way more information about the Oryk Heath because the Leopard tanks are there, so it's more exciting. Velika Novosibirsk only have AMX 10s, so not so interesting. There is an interesting footage, of the Ukrainian offensive over at Novodonetsk, and I've shared this in the DPA's Telegram channel. You can go and check it out. Where the footage shows that they actually drive through the farmlands, and they landed over at the western outskirts of Novodonetsk, and then shelling camps. Then they got shot. As I say, the moment you stop, you get shot. But yeah, this is just modern warfare. That's just how it is. Even if you continue to push all the way to the front line, then you get hit by ATGMs, anti-tank guided missiles. So yeah, that's just how it is. The Ukrainians very interestingly attacked the north of Marinka. So we are at the Donetsk front. The Ukrainians are attacking the north of Marinka, while the Chechen forces is actually pushing in Marinka. The Chechen forces are maybe stuck because there's no. I predicted that the Marinka should fall very, very quickly because the Chechens were like so gung-ho, right? They're going to push, and they did not. So I believe that the Ukrainian forces that at Kharkivka has continued to reinforce the Ukrainian lines over at Marinka, and they managed to hold the Chechen forces, and now they are counter-attacking in the north, as the Chechen forces previously have some advancement in the north. So maybe the Ukrainians are trying to recapture lost grounds. So this is the situation at Marinka. Over at Avdiivka, the Ukrainians actually launched another offensive after the previous one at Upitne and Vodian has failed. This time round, they attacked at Pervomayske, as well as in the northern part, over at Krasnohorivka and Novobakhmutivka region. The Russian Defense Ministry call it the Kremmina region, but I think it's towards Novobakhmutivka. And the Ukrainian Defense Ministry still says that the Russians are attacking north of Vodian and Nevelske. I don't think that's the situation that is happening over there. Maybe the Ukrainians are actually, holding the lines. The Russians are just attacking them, shelling them. The Ukrainians are actually doing the push. But so far, no indication that it has been more successful or what. And then we go to the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, the Ukrainians gave up on the double pincer. They're just probably focusing on just the primary pincer around Bakhmut. Fighting is reported at Yakhine, Bakhivka, Dubovo-Vasilivka, at Bodanivka, and Klishevka, and further south at Andriivka. So south is towards Andriivka, Klishevka. So similarly, as I mentioned previously, prime objective is Klishevka. Then from Klishevka they can actually go for Opitne, Vasilia Dolina, and then they can actually cut the road by going to the rear of Bakhmut. Andriivka and then Avdiivka were able to cover the southern flank, as the Ukrainians try to go around Bakhmut. That is probably what is happening. And in the north, the key is Bakhivka. So Bakhivka is like the Klishevka in the north. This is very important for the Ukrainians to capture. With the capture of Bakhivka, Dubovo-Vasilivka will not hold, and the Ukrainians can capture Paraskoviyevka, and then they can actually capture Krasnohora, cut the road on the north, and then go for Pihorodny, and then cut the road. Yeah, and then operational encirclement. So because if, like I mentioned, if they can go to the rear, this is operational encirclement. Then this is the only road left through Polotsk, and then this is where the Russian forces will have to withdraw from Bakhmut. Yeah, but it's very far away. Probably we're talking about a few months of fighting to reach there, if the Russians continue to hold the lines as they were. And over at the Sivers front, the Ukrainians are not doing any operations now. Previously, they have the attack towards Soleda. But this is already abandoned. They probably realize they can't do it at this moment. Maybe not enough men. Over at the Kremmina front, it's interesting. The Ukrainians actually tries to gather up a massive force, I guess, from the look of it, over at Nevsky, Yampolivka, and Torske and Serebryansky Forestry, and they are trying to attack within Serebryansky Forestry and Torske. And the forces at Nevsky and Lampolivka is consistently getting shelled on an almost daily basis. They cannot able to do much. Within the Serebryansky Forestry, because of the forest cover, is probably easier. There is probing attacks at Dibrova. There's attempted attack within the Serebryansky Forestry, but they were denied due to artillery shelling. Similarly, at Torske, it was denied as well by artillery shelling. So the Ukrainians are still definitely not giving up within the Kremmina front. They are still trying very hard. Then there's this attempted attack towards Novovodyan. Similarly, this attack did not work out due to getting discovered earlier. And over at the Svatove Kupiansk front, the Ukrainians are not conducting major offensive in this area here. There are only probing attacks at Sinkivka, Vyushana, at Timkovka region, and at Novosibirsk. Otherwise, we don't really have the Ukrainians actually launching any offensive over here. The situation over here is mainly very positional. The Russians are just focusing on grinding the Ukrainian forces by shelling them in positions, and so that's technically what is happening right now. So I would suggest the Ukrainians to withdraw. It might sound wrong, but I think the Russians are holding a very strong line in this area here, and then the Ukrainians are holding another line. But what happened is that the Russians are shelling them in position. So what I would suggest is the Ukrainians to withdraw and purposely increase the gray zone and entice the Russians to push forward. And as the Russians push forward, they are out of their defensive position. That's when the Ukrainians can actually counterattack and destroy them. Yeah, but the Ukrainians are like, the Nazi German military in World War II. They will not withdraw. They were going to defend every single inch of land, and that is a bad strategy. But anyway, what do I know? Yeah, I know nothing. So anyway, that's the operational report. Hopefully you do not get too many emotional damage. This is just reality of war. So thank you for watching. Do press the subscribe button. The DPA main channel is trying to reach 100,000 subs. I want the silver plug. I want the YouTube silver plug. Please give me the silver plug. So help me to get there. And the main thing is actually reach. We need more views. With more views means more revenue, then DPA can do more. With whatever that DPA is getting right now, it's not enough to hire anyone in a good salary, to be able to do things professionally. So it's very hard. So I need your support. Let's grow the channel together. The success of DPA is your success as well, because whatever I'm trying to do here is trying to bring clarity to information, to things that's happening around the world. As tentatively, that's all I can do now is the Ukraine war, because this just sucks up all the time. So anyway, with more support, with your support, then I can cover more things around the world, and probably we can all get more enlightened at the same time. So yeah, do your best, DPA Army. Press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next update.